let's talk push-ups. So we all know that push-ups suck. Push-ups are hard, but they're one of those things can make us feel really badass when we can do them. And also there's a level of risk when we do them because we create a lot of force, we create a lot of tension. We talked about tension to task. And when we're practicing them, if we're not strong enough to really do them well, we create a lot of tension. We can create a lot of risk towards our pelvic floor and core. Yes, Hazel? Okay, just go color and draw, and then I will help you as soon as I'm done, okay? Thank you. So we're gonna go over technique, variations, and breathing strategies, and also just what to be aware of in terms of risk, especially if you are already experiencing symptoms, or maybe you're pregnant, or you're newly postpartum. These are all things that I want you to be very aware of. So when we do a push-up, why are they so hard? Well, when we do a push-up, it's not just a chest and shoulder and upper body workout. It is a full body exercise. It is full body movement. It takes not just strength, but also cooperation from the muscles and joints from our head to toe in order to perform it well and perform it properly. And so if we have a weak link somewhere in there, and it can be something crazy like weak inner thighs, and that can cause you to be weaker in your push-up. It can be a weaker core or abdominals. It could be weak back muscles. It can be tightness somewhere. It can be, an injury, whatever it might be. And so if we can't do them on the floor, then we need to be able to check our ego and do them on an elevated surface. Now, I see people doing them on their knees all the time, and that's okay, but we don't want to do them on our knees, right? We want to do push-ups on our toes, and so we need to practice them on our toes, and so that means finding a variation on our toes that matters, that helps, that we can control our form. And so that means usually going to an elevated surface. So what we can do, and I'll push this back a little bit, is we can go to an elevated surface, and that can be anything from a wall, you guys, to the back of a couch, to a kitchen table, to a squat rack. If you have a bar and you want to put your squat rack across the bar, or your bar across the squat rack and do it on there. It can be a box, it can be a stool, it can be your stairs. It can be a TRX if you have straps like I do. There's so many variations that we can do. It's up to you to find one that you can do controlled. And strength comes from repetition. So it's the same as being able to do a pull-up. You'll never be able to do a pull-up if you don't do them all the time and practice them all the time. For push-ups and pull-ups and things like that, strength comes a lot slower because there's a lot more muscle groups involved. There's a lot more coordination from head to toe, okay? So when we're doing push-ups, I like to always say, and I still even do them on an elevated surface sometimes, especially if it's in a workout where I know that I'm just gonna be really tired, or there's a lot of them, or it's like a chest workout and I'm pairing them with something else. I'll still do them on an elevated surface because I wanna be able to see what it would look like on the floor. And if it's gonna be on the floor, I'm gonna be on my toes, okay? And I might even start on the floor and do one on the floor. Say I have to do 5 for 5 rounds. I might do 1 or 2 on the floor with good form and then finish the rest on an elevated surface, okay? So when I'm doing a push-up, I always want to be on my toes. My arms should be slightly wider than my shoulders, and this is gonna be a little bit different for everybody. And when you come down, your elbows should always stay slightly behind you, so they should never be way out here like this. They should be slightly down and behind, and your ladies should always touch first, okay? So for those of you that have a bigger bosom, well, that's a good thing because you're not gonna have to go down quite as far, right? So you're gonna always lower the ladies first and keep your bum slightly up. So when you come down, if you're on the floor or on a bench, your bum might be up just a tiny bit. As long as it's not really piked up, it's okay. My bum's always slightly higher. and then I'm gonna push straight through the floor, okay? So if I'm on the floor, you can find your perfect form or your perfect position by getting on your toes, coming down, keeping your hips up so that your thighs don't touch, and placing your thumbs just outside of your armpits, and then pushing up, okay? So it's okay if your thighs, I actually would prefer it if your thighs stayed up, unless you get down here like, crap, I can't get up. Then you're gonna put your thighs down, roll up, back to your toes. The most important part of this movement for building strength is not necessarily the up, it's the controlled on the way down, okay? So, you're going to come down slow. If you can, hover right above the ground, and then you can always come down and you can roll up or come up on your knees and then back to your toes, okay? If you start to find that that's really easy and you can just never get off the ground, then what you'll do is you'll come down, you're gonna push up as high as you can, then put the knees down. So you're still at least getting yourself off the floor, and then you can put your knees down or support yourself up on your way up, okay? It's the same on a bench. No matter how high or how low that bench is, I wanna see it controlled on the way down. Then if you need to, you can put the knees down, come up, and reset, okay? If you're higher, same thing. You can always step a foot forward and then come up. So if my box was quite high, I wouldn't go down on my knees. I would come down and then I would just step my feet in, stand up, and come back up, okay? Now, breath, tension. We need quite a bit of tension to do a push-up, but you still have to make sure that you are not over exerting your tension and causing that tension or that pressure, right, to build up here and push down. So what I see happen quite frequently, and in Melody's case, I'm not saying that this is exactly what's going on, but what I do see happen sometimes is when we're doing things like this and we're doing planks, we don't even realize that we're causing so much pressure or we're causing so much tension down in our abdominals, and they're not quite prepared for it, not quite ready. We've been working at we've been doing it, like you saw Melody, if you go back and see Melody's video, she can knock out a bunch of push-ups, no problem. They look great. But to find out that she's having this lower abdominal pain, and it doesn't feel necessarily muscular, it feels more internal, it could be a few things. It could be that she's just overworking the deep layers of the muscle and the fascia, and it's causing pain. There could be there could be a hernia starting. There's lots of different. It could be pubic symphysis pain. There's lots of different options. Awesome. I should have waited for the video before posting this morning. Great advice. I dislike push-ups. I don't like push-ups either. So when we are doing things like this, we still have to make sure that even though we can do it, and even though it feels okay, if our body's giving us a signal like pain or discomfort, then that's probably a sign that even though most of our body can do it, something's not quite right. So we need to back it off, and maybe we need to practice going slower, more controlled, and more intentional with our breath and our core connection. So what I would do, and this is always how I start everybody off with push-ups, is I don't just be like, okay, great, show me how you can do it. I take it a step back and I say, let's do it a little more intentional. I'll start them on an elevated surface, and usually it's higher than this one. I have a couple boxes and I start high and then I work down based on what I see, okay? So what I do is I get them on the box, and I would say do that nice big deep inhale, relax, exhale, engage. So pelvic floor lifts, belly button comes in and up, our abdominal are nice and tight. Then I can breathe here while I keep everything else tight. I would do a push-up, relax, and repeat. And I would do that a few times to make sure that I have that pattern down, that I'm comfortable doing that pattern, or that they're comfortable doing that pattern. So it would look like this. I get into the push-up position, do a nice big deep inhale, everything relaxes, exhale, draw the belly and everything in tight. I can still breathe into my chest, but my belly and my hip bones are drawn in, everything's nice and tight in my abdominals, and then I'm gonna come down nice and controlled, and then I'm gonna push back up, okay? Now for me, I know when I do that, I'm instantly stronger. I notice a huge difference in that versus not being intentional with my breath and abdominals. Does that mean that I have to be slow and intentional like that all the time? No, but I should practice that way as often as I can so that I get better and my body adapts and that my body just does that on its own without me having to constantly remind it and tell it to do that. If it's not doing that on its own, it's just because I'm not practicing, I'm not giving it the signals enough I'm not training it enough to tell it that that's what I want to do, okay? And that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice a workout for it. It just means you can do your push-ups however you want in your workout if that's what you choose, and then you can practice this way on other days. It's up to you. You still always have that choice. That's just my recommendation, is to always be slow and intentional first. Practice it with the breathing first. Use those abdominals, help manage that pressure, create that tension, and see how it feels. If you feel like it gets harder and it still feels the same, then maybe that's not the best strategy for you. So everybody's gonna be a little bit different. It's gonna take some practice. That's what works best for me, and it's what I typically see works best for most of my clients, but of course there's always that variance in there, okay? If you're somewhere, say you were at a gym and there's no box or whatever, then what I would do is I would use that strategy on the ground as well. I would get into my feet. I would take my nice big deep breath here. Inhale, relax. Exhale, engage. I would come down, and if I couldn't get up, I just push as far as I could, and then I knees down and up. Or you can come down nice and controlled, push down, and roll up, okay? Options, again, TRX, but the strategy, the underlying strategy of the breath, the abdominals, holding everything nice and tight, still breathing, and just practicing creating that tension in that pattern to see if it helps you is where I would always start. And I would always go into a workout saying, we're gonna start at the easiest, find out where they're at, find their base level, and then say, okay, so now if we need to, you can attempt a few at a more intense level down here. So say they have no trouble creating that tension and being intentional here, then when we go into the workout, I'd say you're going to do as your push-ups on here, but if you want to attempt one or two on the floor before moving here where we know you have control, that's cool, because we still have to load and make sure that we're loading our body enough to create adaptation and strength. So if we do them on here and they're intentional and they're great, but we're never going to that little bit harder, even if it's just for a few reps, it'll take us longer to get stronger. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense so far? Give me some thumbs up if this makes sense. It's always hard because teaching strategy, the strategy is always going to change a little bit depending on the person, right? Every single person needs something a little bit different. Everybody has a little bit different story that they need help with. Everybody's gonna have injuries. Awesome, good, I see the thumbs, perfect. So take these strategies and always know that there could be some gray area or differences in what you're doing, right? And if you wanna get better at push-ups, do them every day, okay? Do them every day. If you wanna get better at doing a pull-up, do them every day. And you might only do 2 every day, and then 3 the next, and then 4 the next. But you'll find that if you do them every single day, you're gonna get stronger a lot faster, okay? And pay attention to your body. Pay attention to you. If you really think from head to toes or nose to toes, what I say a lot when I am coaching push-ups, think about what everything's doing. Is your butt putting in some effort? Are your legs putting in some effort? Because you really do need to create some level of tension through the entire body for push-ups, okay? It is not just an upper body. Your legs aren't just there for balance. They are helping create that tension to get you all the way up and control you on the way down. So saying that, if you did push-ups already today and you want to go back and try this again, video it again, slow it down, put the breath and the abdominals into it, slow it down, be a little bit more intentional, think about the tension to task that we learned last week, elevate them, try a different variety, then I encourage you to do it, and I want to hear your feedback on how they felt. Do they feel better? Do they make you feel more confident about doing push-ups when you elevate it? That sort of thing. Tara, advice for doing assisted pulls at home. What equipment would you suggest? So assisted pull-ups, well, I mean, if you have straps, those are the best because you can use them anywhere. You can tie them over a door. You can tie them on a tree branch if you have a tree branch in your yard. So I love TRX straps because you can, based on where your feet and your legs are, you can make it harder or easier, and you can do different varieties like hands over, hands under, wider, narrow, whatever. So I love straps for that sort of thing. If you have a pull-up bar, you can get a band like this, okay? But pull-ups are a whole nother entity and it would take me a whole nother half an hour to teach pull-ups properly. So we can talk about that. I'll talk about that on another day. Maybe I'll just do like a bonus learning thing for pull-ups. Yes. So I don't actually have TRX because TRX is a brand name and you're going to pay almost double for the TRX straps. So the straps that I got them off of Amazon, and I will find the name of them. But really, as long as they are these, nylon straps, and they should have, adjustables, and they clip on, they should be able to clip onto something like this. I clip them onto a hook, but they also should have like a door attachment where it's like almost like a sandbag, and you just throw it over the door, and you can put that. Yeah, these ones I got from Amazon. I think they were like $100 maybe, and TRX is like $200. TRX is significantly more expensive, but they're the exact same straps. I love these straps. They work really well. Oh, here's the brand name. I see it on the handle. Here. There. That's the brand right there. Just so you can see that. Okay. I don't even know. Instiv? I don't know. Anyways, so push-ups. If you've done them already, go back and do them again. See if you can add some more intention to them. Practice the breathing strategy with them. Think about your tension to task. See what you can do. See how many you can do on the floor from your toes. And then see how many you can do moving up and up and up and make it higher. And just see how many you can do until you're totally burned out. That's a good workout. And if you have any more questions about this, let me know. So we'll touch on Melody's question. So Melody asked, she's feeling, let me see if I can pop my phone up here. There we go. So Melody is having some pain down here, like in her lower abdominals and internals. So for you, Melody, I especially want you, because you are newly postpartum, we haven't had a chance to really work through what I consider a proper return to training, because we never really got to see each other. Then we got shut down. I don't think you've been to pelvic floor physio yet. I don't think you've talked to Lisa or seen Lisa, which now I especially want you to do, especially if you're having pain down in that area. I want you to book with Lisa and talk to her. But I want you to, knowing what you have been doing up until now, I want you to slow down. I want you to be more intentional with the breathing and the technique. And it's probably going to have to make you check your ego a little bit. I'm not saying you have a big ego, but when we get into these, we do always have a layer, especially knowing the personality that we are. You're very much like me, and you can do these things, so it's hard to believe that you might have to scale it back in order to reduce risk, because you're like, well, I'm strong, I can do it, and you absolutely can. But there's something happening within the full system, and it's giving you that like alert via pain that there's something that's not quite doing what it needs to be doing, and we need to address that. So that may mean scaling back different movements like push-ups, avoiding them altogether. When I'm working out, I just want to get it done. I know, I totally get it. And this is the hardest thing for me as a postpartum coach, is telling people who are very capable of doing things that we need to scale it back, because it's all a mental thing, right? But trust me, for the long term, you're gonna appreciate that you did these things, because that means when your baby is 5, you're not going to be in debilitating chronic pain or having more leaking issues, or your prolapse is getting worse, or whatever it might be. So it's really super important that we listen to these cues that your bodies are giving you, and whether we cut those moves out completely for now. Remember, it's just for now, not forever, but we might have to cut those things out for now, or introduce a new strategy, or implement a new technique in order for us to pass that barrier and be able to do them without pain again, and reduce the risk of shit going south later, okay? Always think future, because it's much easier, and I can't stress this enough, is it's much easier to be proactive now than it is to be reactive, because let me tell you, it's much harder to get a handle on pain, prolapse, and leaking when it's already happening. If we are proactive and we're doing everything we can to reduce risk when it very first starts, or before it starts, we have a much greater chance at reducing what's going to happen down the road. So I encourage you to not just get her done, but slow it down a little bit. Let's figure out the strategy that's going to work. And number 1, to check in with Lisa, book an appointment with her to talk about what could be going on. She'll get you to palpate and do some assessments on your own at home, and it'll likely be very, very helpful for you. So you do that, and anybody can do that, right? Lisa's doing telehealth appointments like this via Zoom. She can see you, you can see her, you can interact, you can talk, and she takes you and spends a full what's the word I'm looking for? Hour and a half going through everything that you need to know in that first pelvic health assessment. So, Tara, I wish I found you 7 years ago. Me too! Although I didn't know this 7 years ago. 5 years ago, yes. 7 years ago, I didn't know any of this either. So, Melody, yes, this is why I came to you. I hate hearing to slow down, but I have learned from my second what will happen if you don't. Yes. That's just it, right? And this is it's a learning lesson for us all, right? I didn't have any symptoms after my first. I was fine. So I worked out even harder, even more tense, and ignored even more than I should have in my second, and it bit me in the ass, like hard. So I know from personal experience that, getting it done can cause a lot of issues. And it's not that we have to, do it for long, or that there's not certain things you can't really push the limits on, but we have to be smart about what those things are, why we're doing it, and just really, really look for you personally, what is the risk versus the reward. And if the risk is worth more to you than the reward, then that's your choice, right? That's up to you. That's your body. You get to make the call. I don't get to make that call. I just need to educate you on what the risks are so that you can make an educated and valid choice for your body. That's my job. So, and also Lisa's job. So if you guys have any more questions about that, let me know and we'll get on it. But for now, I think that's enough bombarding you about push-ups. I'm going to encourage you to go back and do it some more. Practice the strategies. If you need to go back and rewatch videos from last week about the tension to task and the core connection breath, then go do it, okay? It's all there for you in the Facebook group. It'll be there until the end of the 21 days, and then that stuff all goes away. So watch it while you can, take notes, all those different things. Awesome, Melody. That's great. Okay, love you guys. Welcome to week 2. Keep everything coming to me in the Facebook group. I love seeing you guys engaged and interactive and posting as much as you need to and want to, and I will be in there with you, and I will see you later. Bye.